What's up, guys? Teddy Cornwell here. Welcome to the Underdog Talk. Something about the underdog. Today, we have a very special guest on the show. But before we get into this interview, you guys know I have to give this man a proper Underdog Talk introduction. Hailing from Brasilia, Brazil, today's guest is a jack of all trades, competing as an IFBB men's physique pro bodybuilder, a top fitness model, a certified personal trainer, a nutritionist, and a sponsored athlete. Oh, wait, I'm forgetting a kinesiologist. And finally, the mind behind AC driven training. I am proud and honored to present the one and only Mr. Alex Carneiro. What is
Thank you.
up, sir? How you doing today, man?
Oh, wonderful, man. July is a great time here in Colorado. It's warm, it rains a little bit, doesn't get too hot, so I got nothing to complain about.
Life's good, man. I love it. I love it. And I mean, Alex, before we start this interview, I, I've been craving some Brazilian food lately. So before we get into this interview, I have to ask, what is your favorite Brazilian dish?
Oh man, you're gonna be disappointed by the answer. Even though I was born in Brazil, I was raised all of my life mostly in Europe, so I didn't really, like experience the Brazilian upbringing. I had this international upbringing, but I've obviously been there several times. My family's from there. I would have to say your feijoada, which is a typical, beans and pork, and it's a heavy dish, but it is very typical from Brazil. That's, a must if you're going to go down there. And obviously, the steak. I mean, that's why we have this international, steakhouse event. It was all inspired from Brazil. So I mean, any good steak is good for me.
All right, I respect that. That's good. I just was interested in like a very specific Brazilian dish, and we got it. That sounds great. And I mean, Alex, I don't know if you read my mind, but you must have because you were born in Brazil, but you spent most of your life on the move. I mean, growing up in Brazil, but you also went to Rome, Italy, and your family relocated to Chile. I mean, when you were 10 years old. So, wow, that's a lot of traveling. First of all, I mean, I barely traveled out of the state. But what was that like, and how did that shape you into who you are today?
Look, it was by all means when you're young, it's complicated because you have to switch cultures, and at that young of age, when you switch cultures, kids can be mean. And so if you're wearing something culturally appropriate from one country and you go to a different one and they make fun of you, it's a little harsh. But growing up in Italy, I always went to boarding Catholic school, military boarding Catholic school. I hated it back in the day. I hated having to pray for every single meal. I hated the type of discipline and instructioning that these schools had, but I was super appreciative late in the late 20s, and then moving from Italy to Santiago de Chile, that was kind of hard for me because the cultures are very different, the habits, and so I had a hard time adapting to that. Another country I lived in was Ecuador, Quito. That one was a very, very easy country to live in, very simple. But I think the best thing I did for myself of experiencing all these different cultures is understanding that you have to have patience and you have to be, open-minded that not everyone's going to think like you. And so you got to understand that you might disagree with someone in whatever subject that may be, but you have to be, patient to be willing to open your mind in order to understand their point of view. And that's something I think we don't do that much these days. We react to everything instead of actually stopping and thinking about, maybe this person didn't have the same upbringing as I did. So I should maybe, reconsider my types of words or actions or body language in front of them. And that's just something, that you don't usually experience unless you traveled, quite a bit and you're told about, how to behave in front of certain people or how to behave or act and say things in other cultures.
And it's kind of funny because again, I had that thought today about, how do I treat people? I don't know what they're going through. And I was like, well, I need to work on that because there's been times where I wasn't able to understand what they're going through. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's so key to be open and understand that people come from different backgrounds. People are going through different things and how to meet them in the middle and how to be understanding. And I think you hit that on the nail, Alex. So thank you for that because traveling at such a young age around the world, I mean, you've seen a lot. And I mean, again, that culture change from Rome to Chile to Ecuador. I mean, that's a crazy culture for a young kid. So that definitely has shaped you into who you are today. Now, something that also kind of shaped you into who you are today is your fitness. Now, Alex, um, I really didn't know you were into fitness. I was gonna say you look small, but I'm like, this dude's monstrous. Fuck.
It's the shirt.
So throughout your teenage years, you become fascinated by the great like Arnold, Sylvester Stallone, who actually Sylvester Stallone got ripped for Rocky because of our guy Rich Gaspari. Shout out Rich. But your passion for fitness truly came to light at the age of 17 when you were first introduced to the weight room by your older brother. And you actually had a quote which I thought was interesting. You go, I started lifting weights here and there at the age of 17. I didn't know too much about it, and I certainly did not know a lot about anatomy, physiology, nutrition, and dietary supplements, all important stuff to build a physique. So at first, you didn't make the progress you wanted, just like many of us. It takes time. So what did you do to change this and then learn? How did you learn about training and nutrition?
So you're right. Yeah, I'm a huge gaming advocate. I still am actually. I was playing online before I even got in the call. Gaming is my thing. Japanimation, cartoons, those are definitely my thing. But at that age, it didn't really bring so much of my social aspects. I was a very good introvert. I'd rather spend my time online than in the real world.
Mhm.
And it only took one trip to the gym, and I started seeing all the cartoon characters that I admired. Like Goku from Dragon Ball, and all these
Mm.
beast guys. And the coolest thing was when I entered this gym, I straight up went to the biggest dudes, and I'm talking about big. And I started asking them advice, and they were so sweet. They were really nice people, and they started giving me advice. But advice is not enough to obviously build a physique, and you got to actually learn a little bit more. When I came to the States, then again, I did the same thing. I was a freshman in college. There was this big guy. His name was Rob, big dude. And again, I just said I'm going to use the same application. I went to the biggest dude, and it's funny because most people don't want to go to the big guy because they think they're going to, get yelled at or a lot of gym intimidation. But Rob was this amazing, gentle guy. He helped me through my first bodybuilding show. But I'll take a step back. It was actually this interest of, when I went to the gym and I got obsessed with it, that kind of made me think this is something that I it's not just a hobby. It's something I want to study and really understand because I want the body that I want, and I'm not going to be able to achieve that if I don't have the education behind it. And the internet wasn't, in 2000 and 2004 and 3. It wasn't what it is today. You couldn't just Google all these answers and find thousands and thousands of articles. Like you still have to go back and get the Arnold Schwarzenegger Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding or open magazines. And yeah, like you mentioned, Arnold, Sylvester, Jean-Claude Van Damme, these are all big inspirations because they came from outside the country following that American dream. That's what I went to pursue, the American dream. And, it was a combination of that, the movies, the gaming, the cartoons that kind of inspired me to get all into this. But in order to go from one level to the next level, education is really, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Education plus the addition of action becomes, what over time will become anything you want it to become. Because people say knowledge is power, but I don't believe so. Knowledge is only power if it's applied. I mean, you could have I remember in college, these kids would get straight A's, and they would suck when it came to the actual practical of like a VO2 max or having to get someone's blood pressure. So they were great in the books, and that's something I realized. You got to know the information on the books, but if you can't apply it, and then most importantly, as a personal trainer, apply it to someone else, then that knowledge doesn't really serve us.
And I agree. I think that's such an underrated tactic to learn. Go to the biggest guy because oftentimes they aren't those, excuse my French, the dicks that you think they are. They are people who have been through it all. And there's a reason why they are big because they know it. And I mean, shout out to our guy, Branch Warren. I thought he was going to be the meanest son of a gun in the world. Dude is one of the most, open and respectful dude
Humble.
of all time. Humble.
Yeah.
Yeah, humble. Excellent
Yeah.
word. Thank you. So I think, Alex, your point again, try it. See how it is. And if they're a dick, then clearly they're not the right person. And they have their own problems, but I
Right,
definitely
but, with that being said, I also wouldn't go up to the biggest dude in the middle of a set or, in the
you got
middle of something, because that's happened to me several times, and I actually got injured because someone scared me when I wasn't expecting them to come talk to me. Maybe at the end of the workout, the beginning of the workout might not be the best. They're trying to get mentally ready for the workout. They perhaps drank their pre-workout. They're just ready to work out. But at the end of the workout, when you're noticing they're leaving, I guarantee you most people will be very nice unless they have to really be somewhere. They'll take the time to talk to you. And it's also how you approach someone, right? If you approach them with this egocentric vibe that you know everything, you're just double checking your mistakes, or you come with this, can you give me your best tip? I could write an encyclopedia of tips, but the thing is, you got to have a more precise question. That's another issue. If you don't have an exact idea of what it is you're going to do, you're just going to be having this mainstream brain of general ideas that's not going to really serve you or answer your question. Because you can come up to a guy and say, "Hey, dude, what I need to do to get big?" I always say, "Eat."
yeah.
Well, again, there's a whole scope of eating. Then someone will say, well, if you lift heavy and eat a lot, you'll gain weight. Yeah, but you're also, gain diabetes and triglycerides and bad cholesterol and a lot of ton of issues. So, something I don't see these days is that passion to learn something. People just want to go to their fastest hack online and, watch a 3-minute video that explains a concept that could be explained in years.
Yeah.
So it's really digging in and something that like you mentioned, having a passion for something. Because once you have a passion, you want to learn everything there is to that specific subject you're wanting to be good at.
Yeah. And I mean, learn and find that passion. You did, Alex, as fast forward, you get into personal training, you become a fitness model. But what I'm really interested in is your bodybuilding career. And like this show, you were actually an underdog at one point in your life. You received several negative comments from those around you, suggesting you were not good enough to become a competitive bodybuilder. You decided to push past the negativity and set out to prove the doubters wrong. So, how much did this affect you? And then, Alex, how much did it drive you to be your best?
Motivation changes. At that age, when I was a teenager, I think I wanted to start working out also because I want to look good for the girls. Um, Obviously evolved from there, but there's there's two types of people in this earth. There's the people that get negativism or feedback that they don't appreciate, and they see it as an offense. They take it negatively, and there's people that hear any type of negative talk and get inspired by it because they're willing to take that as a potential criticism to make them better. And that's what I did. I remember at the age of 17, 18, I kept telling my friends, I want to be in the covers, I want to be in the Mr. Olympia, I want to be sponsored. I mean, all the great things of competing. Several times I got laughed at, like, haha, okay, whatever, people don't take it seriously. Same thing when I got in college, freshman year, I told all my roommates, this is where I want to be and this is what I want to do. No one takes you seriously. No one takes you seriously until they actually see something you've created as a result. And then that's when people start believing in you. The coolest thing is, I can't say anything to anyone right now. They'll believe me. They'll know I'll accomplish it. So I'm actually very careful with my words. But you can take the motivation of negativism and convert it into something positive. Yin yang, you can convert, just switch the perspective of things. And, as I was progressing and becoming better, that motivation from some people telling me that I couldn't do it to now is how far can you take it is the next level. So I told everyone, well, I want to be a national competitor. I want to become an IFBB pro. I want to be in the top 10 of the Olympia. When you tell that to the local competitors, like, yeah, just join the line. You're just going to be one in a million. But I can tell you it's the habits that I already had built at 17, knowing that this is something I wanted to achieve. Because while everyone else is drinking, and South America and Europe, you can drink when you're 18. You don't have to wait till you're 21. So honestly, if you're 17, 16, and you look like 18, they'll let you in the club to go drinking. And I would never drink. My friends would smoke. I would never smoke. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with drinking here and there, but in college, you could religiously find me at the rec center at the time it was going to close because I'd been there for a few hours. I never went out that much. I sacrificed a lot of those early 20 experiences that I regained later in my 30s, which were more fun. But you have to sacrifice. You can take the negative stuff that people tell you and use it as an encouragement, but you also have to do it for yourself, because if you're trying to prove people wrong, it doesn't fulfill and keep you motivated on the long term.
And I totally agree. I think doubt is something that can fuel us. And I mean, now Alex, prove those doubters wrong. You did, and this makes me smile because in 2011 you finished first place in the NPC Junior National Championships, and with that, you earned your IFBB Pro card. Congratulations. Um, what was the feeling like?
It's one of those feelings that you'll never forget. When people think of their past, they think of the best experiences because they're tied to an emotion. That's how the brain works.
Yeah.
So if you have a negative emotion, you'll be reminded of that. But I had sacrificed so much to be there at that stage. I had, begged my sponsors to fly me because I didn't have the money to get there. And at first you're scared. You see this lineup of, it was like 100 and something athletes because everyone wanted to be the next Physique pro. And I just remembered, like none of these guys have gone through the extent of hardships to get where they are. They're in the United States, and that's what people don't understand. Being here is a privilege. Yes, we have government issues here, blah blah blah, but go somewhere else. Trust me, it's going to be way worse. And being here and being grateful for that opportunity. After my name got called for first place, um, I started crying. I remember crying on stage, and it was just, someone might think it's a silly thing, but when you put that much heart and effort and time to something and you actually see yourself achieving it, it's unbelievable. It's really outrageous. You're backstage, everyone's coming to congratulate you, everyone wants to take a picture with you. All these companies were there trying to do interviews because the division was relatively new. I was actually the third pro in the history of the class. And I was also the first Latin, which was kind of cool in the history of that sport to be the first Latin to become an IFBB Pro Physique. But um, the same way that you'll probably remember the day you get married or the day you have a son, or even the first day I opened my business, like it's just one of those memories. You're like, it was worth it. It was worth sacrificing so much in order to do that. And then, very famous quote, you're only remembered for the last thing you do. So just turning a pro was not enough. I had to, take it to the next level and now compete against the best of the best. And that took me to the next level to want to be motivated.
I agree, and I mean, congratulations. They say something like this: hard work pays off, and damn right it does. And I think the biggest thing that I'm learning is to not give up. And Alex, you never gave up on your dreams. And I mean, now you're one of the most successful and one of the most key people in the fitness industry because you came from so many different backgrounds and yet you never gave up. You stayed on that path. You had your short-term and long-term goals. And I mean, you just accomplished so much. Now, Alex, this is the final question, and I'm interested to see what you say. What is your biggest tip for someone looking to start their fitness journey?
To be patient. Um, it depends on what age you start your journey. Because if you're someone in their 30s or 40s or even 50s, and you've always had the habits of overeating and out exercising, it'll be harder because you have to, you can't just go from erasing 20 years of habits and tendencies to overnight becoming the best version of yourself. That takes time. If you're in your younger years, the best advice I can give you, besides obviously being patient, is to, truly understand the ins and outs of it. Because you don't have to have a degree in kinesiology or dietetics to understand the basics. And it's the basics that get you pretty far in life. I think people overcomplicate the hell out of everything in life instead of taking a step back to analyze the situation. Um, but the biggest advice is just be patient, like the same way that when you invest money, you're not going to get a return the next day. It's just an accumulated effect, and you take the small habits of every day and understand that, you're not going to change your habits overnight. This is something that, even I preach to everyone. I'm not a monk. I still do things that, are technically considered bad habits. But as long as the majority of your habits are in the direction of your destination, you're going to be on the right track. You're going to over question yourself. You're going to doubt it. You're going to go back, go forward. it's never a linear progression. It goes up and down, and then if you zoom out, then you see that linear positive pattern. But if you're not patient, you can't expect this physique and this mindset of being healthy and having the fitness and bodybuilding lifestyle if you're not patient, and you can take that example to almost every single Mr. Olympia. Jay Cutler was beat all the time by Ronnie Coleman. And, then Phil Heath was always beat by Jay Cutler, and then Phil Heath beat Jay Cutler. So, and I remember watching these videos growing up and everyone saying, I failed. And there's a consistency there. They're patient, they take their time to reach their goals. And, you just take it day by day.
And I mean, trust the process, love the process. It does not happen overnight. Now, I am speaking with a legend in the industry, Mr. Alex Carneiro. And now, Alex, I know you're a busy guy. I mean, right after this, they're going on live TV, man. But before we end this interview, are you down for some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
Chilean food or Brazilian food?
Oh, Brazilian food.
Ooh, all right, I like it. Brazilian food or Italian food?
Italian food.
Oh, all right, there it is. Favorite cheat meal?
It's sushi, but a lot of people are not going to think that's a cheat meal.
If you get the extra mayonnaise and all that stuff.
Yeah, you're right. And deep fry it.
Yeah, that's a cheat meal. It can be a cheat meal. Favorite product from Nutrex Research?
Oh, ISOFIT.
Ooh,
great product.
That's a good one. Okay, all right. Last two questions are the big ones on this show, Alex. First one. Talk like our guy, Rocky Balboa, for the rest of your life, or have to box Rocky in his prime?
Oh, I'll box Rocky in its prime.
Let's go! I love it. I love it. And I mean, what do they say? I don't even know. You get to box one of your role models and heroes, Alex. So that's a win right there, right?
Well, if I speak like someone for a full year, it's weird. But when I get my ass beat down by Rocky, at least I learned something. I learned how to dodge or at least get one punch, and I gave something of an effort. So if I get my ass whooped, trust me, there's always a little lesson you can be learned in everything.
And we'll even say you get a nice payday from that. Those boxers get crazy paydays.
Yeah, plus you can say you got punched by Rocky.
Yeah. That's a win right there. Final question. Pull-ups or chin-ups?
Neither. I'll have to go with chin-ups. Simply because you work more the bicep in the back, whereas you said, I think it was a pull-up, right? It's mainly back. So I if I'm going to get to choose out of the two exercises, I'm going to choose the one that works more muscles at the same time.
All right, Alex is a chin-up guy. Just putting that out there. But Alex, it has been such an honor and privilege, talking with you, learning from you. Before we go, the floor is yours. Where can we find, your content? Can we find AC training? Anything you want to plug? Again, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I would say thank you to one person, and that's my wife. Without my wife guiding me through a lot of these things, business-wise, would be a lot more complicated. So always thank you to the missus. Anyone and everyone can find me on alexcarneiro.com, and that's the same thing with my Instagram handle. Not big on the Twitter and Facebook thing, so I answer a lot of international questions from people that want to learn. So if anyone has a question and I can help them with, I'm at Alex Carneiro _ on Instagram.
Damn right. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out Alex's content. Check out AC driven training. And now that talk of all this Brazilian, Chilean, and Italian food has got me hungry as hell. So guys, Underdog out.